UFC 286 is just 5 nights away, and when I say I'm buzzing for this one, this time I actually mean it. This one is taking place in London and is stacked reasonably from top to bottom, with some guys with real potential, others we won't see again. It's a really long one on the prelims, so I'm going to try to make this short and snappy. Like and subscribe, it apparently makes a difference. I'm coming in with a record of 65 and 27 on the year. You will not find better than that, and I have looked. Alright, women's MMA, who cares? Miller's record is better than it seems. She has a really extensive amateur record. She seems committed to MMA. Macedo doesn't. So, yeah. I think Miller's more well-rounded, so I'm choosing her. My record in women's MMA is shocking, so you should probably ignore me. Boring decision goes to Miller. Alright, everyone's picking Ludovic Klein in this one, but I think this man's record's kind of padded, and I don't think he's that good. Herbert has obviously struggled also, but has fought some very good competition since coming into the UFC. He definitely hasn't been babied. Herbert does struggle on the ground, but his takedown defense is pretty decent. Klein is pretty good in the stand-up, has good volume, but there's a massive reach and height disadvantage here. I might live to regret this, and I wouldn't recommend betting on it, but I'm going to pick Herbert on this one. He's better than his record suggests, and I think with the home crowd charging him, he'll expose Klein as pretty average. I'm taking the underdog, Jai Herbert. Another women's MMA bear trap for me to step on. I'm picking Wood. She's faced better competition. She's a more active striker. She has a more accomplished takedown threat. Carolina got flatlined by Molly McCann, who I think is shite. That KO was slick though, I'll give her that. I think Wood dominates the last 2 rounds, with the first being a little bit more competitive standing. Wood by a not too bad, scrappy fight that we'll all instantly forget about as soon as the bell rings. Alright, Gordon is a weird looking creature, isn't he? He did make it pretty competitive against Muhammad Mokaev, who appears later on in the card. He's pretty experienced, he's strong in the clinch, and he has been capable of knocking guys out, especially earlier in his career. I just think Hadley looked fantastic in his last bout. He's shaken off the nerves you get with being a UFC newcomer. He's 2 fights in now. He takes his time in there. He doesn't panic when he's in tough situations. I just don't think Gordon has enough to KO him, and he'll need that to pull off a win here. Hadley's young, he's constantly improving, and I think he'll beat Gordon better than Mokaev did. Alright, so Dusko Todorovic will be far more known to UFC fans, but Christian Leroy Duncan has been tearing his way through the regionals. He's fought some really dangerous motherfuckers as an amateur. He clearly used his time to not worry about losses on his record and to improve in that time, and has remained unbeaten as a pro as a result. Dusko's coming off a win, but he almost got flatlined by Jordan Wright in the first round, and that man has learning difficulties. I made a mistake in picking Dumas on the last card, who looked great in the regionals, but then shit his pants and looked terrible last week. But Leroy Duncan, I think, is a different beast. I expect him to be patient on the feet, take his openings, and I see him getting a KO in this one. Odds are nice to make a little bit of money on this one as well, so I'd look out for it. Alright, this is a tricky one, but I'm going to pick Leron Murphy. Santos has taken this on short notice as a replacement for Nathaniel Wood, who I probably would have picked against Murphy, funnily enough. Murphy's well-rounded. He clearly has a lot of faith in himself. He's been taking on stiff competition earlier on in his career. You know, he's got some really good names in there. Gabriel Santos has been getting late finishes against bums in LFA and Future FC. And while he's looked okay, I just think this is a massive step up. I recently rewatched Murphy's fight against Tukagov, and while he did get dropped in that fight, he stayed calm, worked his way back in, and arguably I think he turned it round. I think he was a little unlucky to get a draw in that one. Santos may be better than we think, but I just can't bank on him with the competition he's faced. He is unbeaten, and I think he'll come in there without fear. I just expect Murphy to take over as the fight goes on. Decision in a reasonably close but clear fight. Alright, so I picked Mokaev as a future prospect in my video about the bantamweights, and that may have been a little premature, if I'm being honest. He's very accomplished for his age. He's only 22 years old, but he's coming off a bit of an injury, and I think he's rushed back for this card. I think he needs to be handled with caution here. Filho's performance on the Contender Series didn't really do much for me, despite getting a KO in the third. He spent most of his career in Brazil on the regionals, and, you know, guys from Brazil, they tend to have very accomplished ground games, and he does have a good number of submissions on his record to suggest that. I just think he doesn't have anything that should worry Mokaev. I think the odds are a little bit silly here, but Mokaev should see this one out dominantly. I think he has a point to prove, and I think he'll get a finish here. Minus 800 is bananas. I wouldn't put any money on that. He hasn't been dominant enough in any of his UFC fights to get odds that broad. This is being set up as a layout for him, though, to get the crowd hyped, and I think he will. Okay, most people are picking Petterson, and I am as well, but this fight's not without its dangers. Usually, I'd be wary picking UK fighters against guys that come from very strong wrestling bases, but Petterson has been around different organizations, and young UK prospects seem to be understanding this, that they need experience here against different style matchups, and Petterson has built this before making it to the UFC. You all know I hate weight bullies, and we do have another Jalen Turner situation here, with Petterson competing at 155, and while he's no Turner, Askmoz is no Gamrot. Petterson, I think, will keep this at range and kick and chop away at distance. His takedowns will have to hold up against a guy that is strong and explosive, but I think the disparity in reach here will be too much, and in front of the home crowd, I think he'll play it smart at range, hurt Askmoz, and I think he'll find a finish later on in the fight. Not without some adversity, though. Alright, we're breezing through these. This one's a very risky fight, and one that I've gone back and forth on. Chris Duncan is quite wild and scrappy and careless at times, and this deeply concerns me. He does have a great heart, and I think this is what is making me edge him here as an underdog. As while I think Moralez does have the experience advantage, I just don't think he has the finishing ability, and is much later in his career. He's coming off two pretty bad losses as well in his last two. Moralez does have more experience against UFC competition, but he's not looked outstanding in any fight I've seen him in. He's merely competent in all areas, and I think with the occasion being what it is, I just think this will be a dogfight, and I'm picking the guy with the big Scottish balls. Go Braveheart. I won't be betting on this one, and I probably suggest you don't either. This one's going to go to a scrappy decision for me, and I think Duncan's going to edge it. Despite a massive humbling against Ricky Simon in his last outing, I'm going to take Jack Shaw. Mark 1's stand-up is okay, but realistically, his only chance is to latch up a submission against men that are likely to make mistakes and leave themselves open to anaconda chokes in particular. I just think Shaw is composed enough, strong enough on the ground, and well-rounded to negate whatever Mokaev can throw at him. Mark 1 has played spoiler for me once or twice, but I really think Shaw is excellent. He was supposed to fight Kyler Phillips, which I hope gets rebooked, as that could be far more competitive. If he can't get past Makwan, he isn't going to be anything in this division, and any goodwill from a loss to Simon will be gone. I'm taking Shaw by finish, probably in the second round. Alright, so as stated, I do have an overall record this year of 65-27. You will not find that anywhere else. Join me for the main card tomorrow. Sorry, that is a win ratio of 71% actually. I'll be back here tomorrow for the main card, where I do have a few surprise picks. It's not the most stacked card in the world, especially for a pay-per-view, but I'm excited to see some UK guys get a chance. Have a great one, everyone, and I'll see you in a bit.